I'm very, very happy to be here and to meet you and to ask you all these questions about the past, because I'm very, very interested in Hadzor, Caverswell and our beginnings, and you're part of it. So Father Norman, how did you get your vocation?
Oh my goodness, that's a long story. We moved from the city centre where I was born in Birmingham, out 4 miles out to a new estate. And there was no church. The doctor and the parish priest both gave £500 and bought a military, wooden military establishment which they put up as a church on the grounds, the new grounds which we had. And when I was 9, the parish priest came along, Father Percy Gately. "Ah, Norman, what you going to be when you grow up?" I said, "A missionary." And he left. And when I was about 11 or 12, he came and asked the same question. And I said, "A missionary." I didn't know what a missionary was, but anyway, I was going to be a missionary. And he said, "Come to my house." And he gave me a missal and said, "Come to church every day now, if you want to be a priest." So I took the missal, and I was going to Mass very often anyway, because my mother went to Mass on weekday mornings. And a few months later, the parish priest sent his girl down to his house girl down to the house looking for me. Said, "Come, the parish priest wants to see you." I went to the house, and there was a little man sitting in the corner with a long beard. And he said, "This is a man from the missions, and he's looking for boys to join the Society of the Divine Word in Droitwich. And you're interested, do you want to go?" I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Well, go and get your mum and dad." So I fetched my mum and dad, and mum was a convert. And dad said, "Oh, no way." He said, "No way, none of my boys are going to be priests." And mother said, "Ah, Tom, let him go." So 2 of us said, "We'll go," and one said no, so I went. And in September, my dad took me to town, gave the money to the conductor, the Midland Red bus, and said, "Put him off when you get to Droitwich and tell him where to go." And that was the beginning of my vocation.
And what age were you when you came to Hadzor?
I was 12, just 12. And I was the only one that survived through the 6 years. Did my matriculation in Droitwich, and I was the only one who went of that class that went to novitiate.
Did you meet Sebastian when you were in school?
Oh, I did, of course, yes. When did he join? I can't remember when he joined. Must have been sometime around that time, later when I was in 4th or 5th form, I suppose. And I went out to the place in Icknield Road near the reservoir. The old reservoir was there. And met his sister as well. And of course then I went to novitiate. I didn't have any contact with him anymore. He left afterwards.
Do you remember the sisters in Hadzor?
Oh, I do, yes, yeah. I do, yeah. Vaguely, I don't remember the names or anything, but I remember them being around once in a while, yeah. They left the year I went there. That's why I didn't say them, though. But I remember them coming and going all right, yeah.
So what do you remember about Hadzor?
It was a beautiful place, an old mansion, set in the countryside, 1.5 miles out of Droitwich, a long walk when you walk there. And the beautiful rooms had changed into classrooms. And there were the back stairs. The back stairs were stone, and they had to be washed every weekend. So everyone always had a group of boys washing the stone steps, others cleaning the house and doing all kinds of things at the weekend. That was where the work scene. Yeah, and the prefect, Father George Curlin, was up in the room next to the classrooms. The rector was in one of the private rooms over the other side of the college there. It was an interesting house, and the grounds are beautiful. A big field just beyond the park was made into a football field. Then about 300 or 400 acres of farmland and woods and things. Beautiful, yeah.
Was it a boarding school?
Of course, yeah. I went there in September. No holiday at Christmas, no holiday Easter. 6 weeks in the summertime we went home, and then back to the college, and then straight through.
When you went home after the first time, like for the 6 weeks, was your father reconciled?
Oh yeah, he got used to that. He got used to the fact that I was away. He agreed to my going in the end, of course. And then they brought boys from the school out to play football, and we played soccer with the boys from Droitwich, and my dad was the referee of the match. He gave up in the end. But he was never happy with priests.
Were you homesick when you came to Hadzor?
Not like the other boys, I never cried. I was never really homesick, like many of them left because they were homesick. I didn't have that, no. I don't know why.
Did anything exciting happen while you were there?
Such as?
Did you do anything naughty?
Oh yes, yeah, I suppose we did. We see now, in Hadzor. In Hadzor, my goodness, my memory. I don't remember what was going on in Hadzor. I can't remember much of it at all. It's vague, very vague.
Did you have any instructions about being a missionary while you were
Oh
learning
yeah,
your studies?
oh, very much so, yeah. Every week, on one evening, we were all gathered in one classroom, the whole gang of us standing around and sitting around. And the prefect gave us a talk on various aspects of our life, including the missions, of course. Yeah, we had instruction like that, yeah.
So everybody there was sort of being trained?
Everybody was there. Oh, everybody was there, yeah. From every class, they were all in their classroom, yeah. Yeah. Vague. A lot of it is very vague at the moment.
Why were you not sent home for Christmas and Easter?
That was the regulation in the college. We were being drawn away from family. Our family now was the SVD, and so we stayed in the castle, in the college, and we had games and work and outings and things like that until the holiday was over.
When did you come to Hadzor?
33.
Were you in Hadzor during the war?
I left in 39. I did my matriculation in 39. And in August 39 I was home and watching cricket match on the field next to the house there in Birmingham. And my mother came over waving a telegram. And I read that. Proceed at once to Donamon was the message. So I had no idea where Donamon was, whatever it was all about, and I shot off to Hadzor to see the superior. And they said, yes, you're all going to Donamon. They were all there, they all arrived. They gave us tickets for the train to get to Liverpool, and money to get the ferry. Went over on the ferry to Liverpool, and from Liverpool to Dublin. And when war was declared while we were on the boat, and when we arrived in Dublin, there was a huge crowd there, calling all the young people who were running away from England at that time, called cowards and all kinds of names, wouldn't face up to the war. And of course we were in the midst of all this. Anyway, we got the train in Dublin down to Donamon, welcomed by the German priest when we arrived in Donamon.
How many were you?
4 of us. Tony Fleming, who joined me, he was ordained. John McNamara, who died last year, was 94 when he died, I think. And Michael O'Reilly, and another fellow, I don't know what I'm doing at all.
Did you come by train to Donamon?
We did, yeah. There was the station was open in those days. Yeah.
How long had they had this place when you came?
Since March. Father Ignatius Hulmeyer. He's buried here.
Yes.
He bought the castle in March. He had an auction. There were 2 people bidding for it here. The other man, he wanted to knock the castle down and use the stone for building houses. And Father Ignatius wanted to keep it as a seminary, and they said, "Oh, that your bid is less than the other one, but we want to keep it as a living place, a dwelling place." So we got it for £1,200, I think it was, with 100 acres of land. Yep.
So the 4 of you stayed?
We stayed, and then John McNamara had some kind of funny things happen to him in the night. He saw funny things happening and reported them, and so they decided to send him home. So John left us, and then there were about 3 or 4 students being picked up from different colleges in Ireland. So between the priests coming in May and September, they must have gone around to the colleges looking for vocations, and 2 or 3 young men came. One of them left and went to Mount Millery. He joined Millery in the early years, and I don't know what happened to the others. They left.
So the 1 priest and the 3 brothers from Germany were here at the time you...
3 priests.
3 priests?
Yes, and a few brothers. Father George Hart was one of them, and Adolf Spreti, and who was the boss? No, him so well, he's bald head and everything. Anyway, there were 3 of them. And then the brothers, yes. All Brother Erasmus, Germanicus, Charles, all a bunch of them. They had different qualifications. Carpenters, iron workers, different kinds of, and gardeners. They were all highly qualified in their field, yeah. Great men.
So was life here about the same as it was in Hadzor?
Oh, it was all different. The castle was a ruin. We didn't start novitiate until November. September, October, November, 2 months we were working on the castle, cleaning out the rubbish and what have you, and putting windows and everything. And when it was more or less kind of livable, we started novitiate in November, and the brothers kept on working, of course, cleaning up and straightening things out.
So going back to Hadzor, was Hadzor livable in?
Hadzor was a wonderful place, yeah. It had been lived in all the time.
Could you tell us a little bit about your mission in India?
Yeah, I went there in 55. We were learning the language, of course, and during that time we were invited to go on August the 15th to a celebration of Our Lady in Hamirpur, which was a long way. It's about 3 days' journey from Gaibira. And I found I'd left my shaving kit behind. So I didn't shave, going there, and while I was there, on the way back, and when I got back, I'd love the beard, so I kept the beard. But that was a wonderful experience. The crowd, huge crowds there on August the 15th for the celebration of Our Lady. And then later on, about 5 or 6 years later, I was in Hamirpur, parish priest in Hamirpur. And August the 15th was coming up. And I said, we'll have a little procession for Our Lady. About 10,000 people turned up from all over the place. They came with drums, these huge drums. They were ahead of the procession. The Muslims, the Hindus were all standing on the roadside praying beside as the procession went by. And they put me on a pile of boxes to preach. So I shouted some little bit of a sermon. It's a huge crowd. And the day before, we'd spent hearing confessions until 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We took about 3 hours sleep, got up at 5 o'clock to get ready for the procession. Huge, never seen anything like it before in my life. Just out of the blue. Marvellous. Very wonderful experience. It was very hot there in India. Went up to 40 degrees and more in the summertime. We were forbidden to go out of the house between 10 o'clock and 4 o'clock from April the 17th to June the 17th. A couple of the priests broke the regulation. They suffered from dehydration and died. And one year I had to go out. I had 6 sick calls that day. And I asked Father John Coquetta to help me out. Not my business, he said. So I did some of the anointings early in the morning, and then I went off way out into the country to do some more. And I collapsed over there. And they massaged me and put water on me the whole night. About 3 o'clock in the morning, I recovered. I woke up all of a sudden. I said, I'm fine now, thank God. Got my bicycle and cycled home. I could have been a goner, but I survived. Yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful mission there, and lovely people, and they're doing very, very well now, and the churches are still full.
Do you remember your time in Papua New Guinea?
Very well indeed.
That was afterwards, yeah?
Oh yes, I went there in 68. 68 to 97, exactly 30 years. It was beautiful. I was 8 years on the coast in Wewak. The bishop, when he saw me, he said, you've been a priest for a while now. He said, you know, in any introduction, he said, you go take over the parish of Yassip. I'm trying to get Father, what's his name, out. He needs to go home. He's spoiling the people up there. He said, no, you go in there and don't give them anything and everything. He said, just do your priestly duties. So I went up there and he stayed on, the priest stayed on. He said, I have to introduce you. So he stayed on until Christmas, about 3 months he stayed on. Wouldn't go, the bishop said go, he wouldn't go. Anyway, we had a nice time together, and I went over to the lakes, and Father Sam Padlow was there in the lakes. He was my classmate from America. Nice man, but he died soon afterwards. He wasn't a healthy man. And I went to a village on the main road, and the bishop said, go and learn pidgin up there. And the parish priest gave me a young girl of 9 to teach me pidgin. Marvellous. She was brilliant. And in 6 weeks I was preaching and hearing confessions in pidgin, no problem. She was a brilliant kid. They're very bright, those kids out there. And I was there for 8.5 years in Wewak. Tough time. Very, very hot and millions of mosquitoes everywhere. And I got malaria several times, and then I got cerebral malaria. I was in hospital for 8 days. Then I recovered, drove back to my parish, and the bishop said, you have to get out of here. And one of the laymen, he said, you better get out quickly and go to the mountains where it's safer. So I was up into Mount Hagen one day with Eddie Bauer, just visiting the bishop. And he says, you're very welcome to come here any time. So I decided to go to Mount Hagen, join Bishop George Bernarding. And he was expecting the other man, the American, to join him, but he didn't. And so I was a bit disappointed having only myself. And he sent me to Ulga, one of the most difficult parishes. He didn't even meet me. He sent a brother to meet me at the airport, take me out to Ulga, and I was there for 4.5 years. One of the most difficult parishes anywhere in Papua New Guinea. People were very poor and fighting and useless crowd. But anyway, we survived, and I moved on from there to he wanted to move me to town. I said, no, Bishop, don't move me. I hate towns. He said, if you're not going to town, he said, I'll send you off to Ambuluwa somewhere. Ambuluwa now was a place up in the mountains that had been without a priest for a number of years. Father McDermott had been the American priest for 17 years or so, and it was also very difficult. There were no roads that way, no roads up there at all. So I said, send me to Ambuluwa, fine. So 22nd of December, just before Christmas, I was airlifted by helicopter into Ambulua. I survived there 5 years. It was beautiful. Built a new church. The only church ever built was built in Ambulua. We carried in all the materials over the mountains and everything. And we had a big celebration there. And Dr. Roswitha, who's coming here for my Jubilee, she was there for the celebration too. It was great. A wonderful time. I'd recommend New Guinea to anybody.
And you came back here to Ireland. You chose to come.
My Golden Jubilee was in Papua New Guinea in 97. And celebrated over there. And I said, no, I've done. That's enough. Local people have to take over now. If we stay on, then you're not going to do anything. So I said, I'll go home, leave you to it. So I came back to England at the end of 76. Stayed almost a year there in England and couldn't find anything suitable to do. And I contacted the provincial over here. He said, come. And I've been here ever since in 98. June the 22nd, 98 I came here. And I'm still here. Lovely.
So, Father Norman, what would you say one thing or two things that have kept you going all these years in your religious missionary life?
The only thing that kept me going was the fact that Jesus was there, that I'd given my life to Jesus and he was with me all the time, and that was it. No question of readings or documents or nobody else knows, only the great thing. That's where I am now. Lovely.
Have you done this before? Gosh, you had to do this. This was important.
I stay in the background.
That's what you did all your life.